There's a timelessness to Persona 3. Its story of confronting death and tragedy with imperfect courage left an everlasting impact on me when I first played it, even though RPGs had evolved and the Persona series continued to grow. As I've gotten older and experienced the very things it's about, I've grown to cherish the earnestness of its message, the way it's framed, and the characters who embody these struggles even more. That makes it easy to get caught up in the hype of Persona 3 Reload, but also sets the bar as high as Tartarus as this remake tries to recapture the magic of its original versions. But after spending 70 hours playing through it, I can no longer imagine Persona 3 without Reload. It's a shining example of how seemingly small changes can add up to make a significant impact, uplifting its greatest qualities while staying true to the source material. And it more than proves why the darkest and boldest Persona yet deserved this new lease on life.
So.
Reload's visual overhaul is a meaningful way to reframe a world I've spent countless hours in, as if this is how I always wanted these places to look. The fresh aesthetics and stylings are more akin to Persona 5, but still distinctly Persona 3, making familiar characters cooler than I could have ever imagined. It also provides a good reminder that taking an evoker shot straight to the dome remains the sickest way to summon a persona. Now, Reload shows that there's still a novelty to Persona's calendar system too, balancing normal life and relationships with the duties of defeating shadows in the dark hour. A mysterious 25th hour where time stops and out come monstrous forces as your school transforms into a deranged 250-floor tower. This is a structure I still enjoy, even if it can fall into a predictable routine. At times, you can tell that this was the formula's first iteration, especially when social and character arcs remain largely the same as they were in the original, a few of which are quite shallow, awkward, or really weird.
Okay, listen, but don't freak out. I'm gonna go ask Miss Kano out. Like, right now.
Still, there are valuable little stories to be found in social links that either feed into the broader message about finding purpose or are just entertaining enough to see through.
I want to stop being so afraid of everything. I want to be able to talk to other people.
Reload includes fully voiced social link scenes for the first time, and that works wonders in terms of giving them more weight. It's even added new social events and activities that truly elevate its central characters. These create a stronger sense of togetherness within the party, showing them forming natural bonds and having lives outside of the confines of their duties fighting shadows. Something as simple as study sessions at the dorm can help you upgrade your academic stat, but more importantly, they come with some endearing scenes of the crew interacting with each other in believable ways.
A beautiful formula. Really arithmeticals my fancy. Yeah, that one's pretty good. Let me write that down.
You can take them up on individual activities too, like gardening or cooking, to get new health items, which also lets them open up to you in ways they hadn't before.
Hey, remember what I said the very first time we cooked together? That I'd make it so delicious you couldn't help saying yum. I'm pretty stubborn, you know.
Watching a scary movie with my bestie Yukari or reviewing boxing matches with my gym bro Akihiko don't just offer social stat points, they give insight into their personalities. Reading books with Mitsuru, Aigis, or Fuka also serve to reward you with social stat points and charming little interactions.
Usually, people's asses are already cracked. Yours is as well, right? I understand. But please tell me someday.
And even the precious dog Koromaru gets his own adorable side arc to round him out as a more complete character. Reload even addresses the fact that none of the male party members had social link routes before. Opportunities to spend time with them now pop up throughout the story and eventually lead to some really heartwarming moments, finally allowing your bros to be fully realized characters.
I've really got to show my gratitude to my parents and to everyone here.
Since these are freshly written for Reload, there's a noticeable contrast in quality compared to the old social link dialogue, making me wish everything else was punched up to match these new interactions. But if it's any consolation, some of these new scenes also showcase a deeper group dynamic that feels like a natural extension of Persona 3's ethos.
Wow! When it comes to being considerate of others, you're a heavyweight. Glad to have you in our corner, senpai.
When it comes to combat, it still revolves around accounting for elemental affinities, knocking down enemies to earn extra turns, and setting up those iconic all-out attacks. But Reload mitigates the monotony of churning through battle after battle with some new features. The limit break style Theurgy attacks can cause massive damage or major status effects, and they all come with fantastic animations that are sometimes as destructive as they are fun to watch unfold. Those who've played Persona 5 will recognize the shift mechanic, letting you pass extra turns to different party members to keep the pain train rolling. These help fights keep a swift momentum that's effortlessly stylish, never letting you get bogged down as you go through the motions. Familiar RPG mechanics are made all the more enjoyable by some challenging new enemies that ask you to engage with Reload's combat system creatively. As you ascend the randomly generated floors of Tartarus, where all of Persona 3's dungeon crawling takes place, mini-bosses will meet you at a steady pace.
Entering full automation mode. Maximum output. One target remaining.
Sometimes these foes don't even have weaknesses, or they lay on devastating status ailments and hard-hitting attacks, so things can spiral out of control if you don't play it smart. The best examples of this come from the boss gauntlets and monad doors, which are all new rooms within Tartarus. These fights throw somewhat unconventional combat scenarios at you that bring out the best in the satisfying turn-based battles, whether you line up a sequence of attacks perfectly or barely make it by the skin of your teeth. Tartarus itself has been revamped to give it a sinister new vibe and a more distinct look for each block of floors. And they're generally laid out less like tedious sprawling mazes too. It's not a drastic overhaul that will completely stave off the repetitive nature of ascending Tartarus, but there's just enough to prevent it from feeling like the weak link it could have been. And the story-centric boss fights have also been given a bit more gravity and spectacle thanks to the new combat mechanics and visual flourishes, especially as you inch closer to the bold, daring, and moving conclusion.
This is my duty.
For as goofy and irreverent as Persona 3 may be at times, its greatest strength is its emotional sincerity. Revisiting this story in 2024 through the lens of Persona 3 Reload put a lot of things into perspective.
I don't want your pity!
In too brief a period of time, I experienced what it's like to lose the people you hold dearest and see those loved ones pass with dreams unfulfilled. I've also faced my own mortality, and Persona 3 has taken on an entirely new meaning for me, even as the story remains the same.
There are no platitudes to stave off death.
When I see these characters express their pain from loss, I don't necessarily feel an intense sadness, but rather a certain empathy and understanding I just didn't have before. When they question their purpose in the face of impending doom, I'm no longer shocked, but instead, I see their confidence even when the temptation of nihilism stares right back at them. Chasing the truth behind the dark hour, the existence of personas, and the rising cases of a widespread pandemic called apathy syndrome creates an unmistakable existential dread that lingers over this world. This story stands the test of time because of how sharp it was in bringing those darker themes together. So seeing your party learn the value of a normal life day to day, and then resolve matters when tensions boil over within the group, builds a realistic dynamic as they fight to save the world and the things that matter most to them.
I got a question for you. What are you fighting for?
Persona 3 ain't a whimsical school sim, it's basically trauma bonding the video game. And when it's all done, it's impossible to not get sentimental about it all.
All I can do is believe. I won't turn my back. I won't be like Mom.
For Reload, I cannot overstate how the fantastic new voice performances bring these characters to life, perfectly capturing the original spirit of each party member, then elevating them even higher. Big, heartfelt scenes, intense battle cries, and moments of levity have a newfound enthusiasm while sounding so familiar, as if these were their voices all along.
Beep! Beep! Beep!
I crack a smile at all their little quips and feel my stomach knot when they pour their hearts out. These portrayals gave me a new love and appreciation for what was already my favorite Persona crew.
I can barely make sense of all of this. I'm so afraid.
And of course, the glue that binds any Persona game together is its music. The new upbeat battle theme, It's Going Down, which you hear when you ambush enemies, complements the classic mass destruction nicely. However, it's the beautifully chill Color Your Night that sets the mood with familiar instrumentation and lyrics that wistfully reflect on the events of Persona 3. But the one song that brings it all together is the opener, Full Moon, Full Life, which uses clever melodic and lyrical callbacks to Persona 3's musical history while representing the message of its story to a T. So even if the more granular details of Persona 3's story start to fade, these songs will evoke the memory of an unforgettable journey. A stellar visual overhaul and countless small additions beyond it leave a significant impact, making Persona 3 Reload a more fully realized version of a beloved RPG. Although it's still dated in some respects, quality of life improvements and new features refresh its exciting RPG combat and add depth to its touching story moments. Through an incredible new voice cast that perfectly embodies these unforgettable characters and an endearing soundtrack to reforge its identity, Persona 3 Reload tells a powerful, timeless story of tragedy and hope with sharp emotional sincerity. This is the kind of remake I've hoped for, and even after spending 70 hours to see it all the way to its conclusion, I still find it hard to believe that it's real. For more on the early hit games of 2024, be sure to check out our reviews of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth and Tekken 8. And for everything else, stick with IGN.